I want to talk to you a little bit about riders meeting and racing starts. Now, if you listen to some of the other stories talk about the pits, well, one thing that actually happens every single weekend, usually on Saturdays and Sunday mornings, is we have a riders meeting. Now, the riders meeting is mandatory. Everybody has to attend. And basically what happens is we get told that, any issues around the track, any scheduling changes in case they have to move things around that, because they're running late on something or whatever. Sometimes it's, there's something simple as like there's oil in the track, or there's this corner, we have a lot of people crashing this corner. We want you guys to be aware of it and all that sort of stuff. So it's generally pretty straightforward and boring. The one thing that does come across is they run the flags every meeting, because sometimes you have someone in from another area coming in, and not every track uses the exact same flag layout. One track might use something different for ambulance on the track than something else and whatnot. So it's a refresher. But generally, if you've been at the rider meeting 10, 15, 20 times, you pretty well very quickly get used to it, and you sort of tune it out, because it sort of becomes like a Charlie Brown story where the adults are talking and all you're actually hearing is the wah 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 from the conversation. But the one interesting thing about the riders meetings is that everyone's there, at least they're supposed to be, and what happens is usually about third or fourth race of the season, they get annoyed with people not showing up for the riders meeting. So what they do is they start calling attendance. So they most of the time it doesn't matter, because it's like some lower class, like the 125 or a 600 production or something like that. But every once in a while they start calling some of the top classes, like Superbike or the back then it would have been the open class or whatever, Formula 1, so I can't remember exactly what it was called now. But now the interesting thing is, I remember I'm actually at one of the riders meetings, and we're all sort of standing around kibitzing with the marshals and whatnot, and they start calling the Superbike class, which is all at the time it was a premier class, and I'm looking around, and it's like, there is no way in this world there are anywhere near more than 10 of the Superbike racers here. And I'm looking around, and I already know that 4 or 5 of the top guys who are definitely not there. Now, if you fail to show up for a riders meeting, they put you at the back of the grid, which at that level you don't want to be on the back of the grid, because the top 4 or 5 guys will be gone, and you'll be lucky to fight for 10th place. So I noticed right away a few friends and people who knew some of these guys immediately peeled off and went running into the paddock area, and they were obviously sounding the alarm, doing the Paul Revere thing. And within a couple minutes, like, all of a sudden these guys started showing up, and it was funny as hell. One guy showed up with a towel around his waist because he was having a shower. A couple guys showed up, obviously they literally got dragged out of bed, and they were like walking like zombies to the area. A couple guys showed up with their breakfast plates because they were eating breakfast, and of course the head marshal was like, and why are you late? And it's like the excuses they were all trying to make up, but basically everyone knew they were just dodging it. And it was pretty funny, but see some of these guys scrambling around. Now the interesting part is, you get these riders meetings, when you have someone not from the area in there, you get to meet some pretty interesting characters. We've had some European racers over for for a race weekend or two, and it's kind of funny trying to talk to someone who only speaks Italian. But you know, if you're a racer, everyone speaks racer. You don't necessarily have to speak the language of the racer. All that matters is that you can speak racer. And MotoGP actually has a very funny video where they talk about how the guys communicate to their pit crews about what the bike's doing in practice, and that's talking racer. But you know, actually one weekend was standing there, and it was a real crappy weekend. It was cold and damp and just plain ugly. And I'm standing there talking to the guy, and I'm looking at him, and it's like, and finally it dawned on me who he was, and it was Kenny Roberts Jr. Now, at the time, he was just, you know, starting off in his career, so he was really up and coming at the time. He was actually there for a Formula USA event, which basically let you ride anything from 250s up to 1000cc bikes in the same race, and it was pretty wild. There was no way in this world I was going to take my 250 into something like that, so I just stayed in the 250 for that weekend. He was actually there riding a YSR 500 with some other guy. I can't remember what his name was. Robbie, I think it was his first name. But anyways, I got talking to him for a bit. Basically, what we were doing was just complaining about the weather and how greasy the track was, and yeah, nice conversation. Real nice guy. And like essentially, you know, I think it was about 5 or 6, 7 years later is when he actually won the world championship for Suzuki, I think it was. And it was nice. A nice guy. Really nice to meet him. So that's sort of the things that happens. Now, the other thing that's actually kind of interesting is that the guy giving the talk at the riders meeting is usually the head marshal or the starter, and the guy we had was actually a guy from England who was a real nice guy, really strict by the rules, but you could still talk to him. Okay, it wasn't like, you know, you're talking with a baseball umpire where you start talking to him and he's like turns his back to you, walks away. You could talk with him and have all kinds of conversations. You could ask him all kinds of questions, and you know, every once in a while, you know, some guys would start having fun with him, start asking him some of the stupidest questions around, just to see how long we get him to tell us to, you know, shut the F up. But you know, he was a great guy, and this is, you know, again, back in the 80s, not very many tracks actually had starting lights like you see nowadays on like F1 and MotoGP and so forth. It was all done by a flag. And like I know if you've probably seen pictures of Valentino Rossi at the, you know, the start of, say, a Moto2 race or whatnot, and it's a lot of racers actually did this because what you wanted to do is you wanted to see generally how the starter was sort of starting the race, because sometimes you have guys that would, you know, take a second to drop the flag to get everybody to kick up to start it off. And there's some guys sit there and hold the flag up for like 5 seconds. Now, on a racetrack, 5 seconds is like 10, 12 hours. It's horrid. It's absolutely horrid. So you generally went and saw, nice little car. You generally watched to see how the starters started the race. Now, the guy we had from, he was originally from England. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name because it was 20 odd years ago. Great guy, and he was like super consistent. He was like a starting machine. You know, you knew exactly, he'd come out, he'd lay the flag up, and somewhere between, you know, 2 to 5 seconds, he'd drop it. And he was never consistent where you could actually guess it enough to jump, to maybe try to jump to start, but you never had to really wait for it. So you really basically sat there with eyes glued. Now, other tracks we went to, man, oh man, we had one guy, and it was funny as hell. We would all get grid at the start, And then he'd walk over the starting position, put the starting flag under his armpit, and then light a cigarette. And once his cigarette was lit and he took a puff of it, he'd then get ready to start. And this literally was every single start. And we just remember watching him, and we're thinking like, we figure this guy's got like one year left to live. 1 year left to live, because he's going to have so much lung cancer from all these cigarettes he was smoking. But it was just every single day. It was just his routine, and it was just like one of those little odysseys of racing. Another guy who was even funnier, we'd start the what do we got here? Oh, the bag. Looked like an animal from distance. So another guy we had, he was hilarious, because literally what this guy did, he'd grit it up, and he would go stand on the one side of the track, and he'd get the flag, and he would literally run as fast as he could across the track, and as soon as he got to the side of the track, he'd drop the flag. It was like he was afraid of getting run over, and we were watching him, and it was like, this was not a small guy. This was like probably a guy pushing, high 250, 300 pounds. So first time we saw it, we thought, like, is this guy going to have a heart attack and die on us or what? But no, that was his way of going, and it was just as funny as all get out. But yeah, we had all kinds of different starters over the years. Like the guy from originally from the UK, he was by far the best, and he's the one we actually enjoyed working with the most, and I think he was there longest. But we had some pretty interesting characters over the years. But just a little side story and some other things that happen on racing. So anyways, hope you enjoyed it.